All right, the fourth is that they'll change. And I used to want to believe that this was true. I used to have kind of like a fantasy that that's what relationship would be like. It would be like two people learning and growing and changing together. And I still believe that. I think that's a beautiful dream. I think that does happen. However, I think more what I have seen is that relationships tends to entrench us in our position. Tends to entrench us. We like get our role and we hunker down into it. And there's something about the relational field, if it's not correctly processed, if there is an agreement about how it's going to be processed, that fixes people into their roles. That the relationship literally holds us in the roles. And it's so frustrating, right? Because you break up with someone or you move on from a business or something like that, and then you see they've changed. They've changed so much, you know? And it's like, why didn't they do that when they were with me? It's like they couldn't do that because the relationship was literally holding you both in place. And you can look at it like this is something wrong and fucked up. I think it is. I think it's kind of like a sick joke on behalf of nature. But I also think maybe there really is only like one or two pieces of work that is being constellated by our relationship. It's the same way that like two people will tend to fight about the same thing over and over again. Like it's like you only have one or two fights with someone. You know, like your parents, you and your parent, you only have like the same two fights over and over with them. And they just have multiple different expressions and maybe the content changes, but there's something in the undergrid, in the structure, that's the same. Just cycling around. And there's something actually comforting to me about that because it's this idea that like there is a deeper kind of cosmic significance of you coming together. This pattern is being recreated, this wound is being activated because it is your wholeness trying to come back to you. And you don't do it with this person, it's going to come back in that next person, it's going to come back in that next person until something allows you to recognize the piece of yourself, the wound within, the belief system that needs to be addressed, the piece of your truth, of your joy, of your essence that you've been self-oppressing that finally wants to come out, whatever it is, right? Every process is different. But I think sometimes it's like that one fight that keeps repeating in that relationship or throughout your relationships. It's trying to show you that. It's trying to show you that. And it's going to keep trying to show you that until you get it. So they'll change. They probably won't change. It's not about them changing. It's about you changing. And you not changing for them. Not changing to indirectly get your need met. You getting the deep, deep psychological wholeness level, soul level lesson of whatever this shit is. And I don't mean like relationships are like work and like you're supposed to do this or that, like some, you know, new age belief system. I mean like, I think this just might be the physics of the psyche and how it works, right? Like this might be the point of relationships, is actually to go through high highs and low lows. It might actually be to like feel like you're getting everything you ever wanted and then have it ripped away and then having to actually see yourself in that moment and harvest and glean whatever there is to harvest there. That's the other reason this course isn't about tips and tricks, because relationships might not be about doing it right. Right? That's like back to the last one. Oh, there's a way I can do it right. I can be the good one. No. Relationships might not be about being a happy mammal and like living at like a mediocre baseline. You know, no judgment against that. I do think there's something like easeful and stable that happens in relationships over time. But if that's not happening for you, if it's these like hard lessons coming with ups and downs, there might be something right about that. That might be like a path of learning that you've taken. Like Terence McKenna said, relationships are the yoga of the West, right? That might be the yoga that you're doing right now. And just the more conscious you can be, not wanting it to be different, right? Not fighting with reality, being like, oh, like I'm deeply learning about myself through these relationships, the more you might be able to change, right? But I think this idea of like they'll change, like it's just around the bend, that they'll change. If you're in a relationship because you're waiting for the other person to change, or you're waiting for the relationship to change, that means that in the present moment, in what's true now, you're unhappy in the relationship. You're unhappy. Not time to start strategizing, but time to admit, oh, I'm unsatisfied with the way that things are right now. You can decide what to do with that, you know? Relationships aren't just about being titillated all the time necessarily, but normally that's really important information. Because the other thing is that, like, you being in your joy, you being in love, you being in your truth, even if that's like a hard truth, is also part of your immune system, is also part of your depth expression in this life. And we're going to get into that in the course. Into part of like what your high dream is, part of what your fantasies is part of your medicine for you. It's part of your gift for the world. Yeah? And being able to connect with that outside of being able to connect with that through the mechanism of another person is part of addressing that root cause existential despair and spiritual emptiness, right? It actually is your love that is your medicine. It is what you're trying to give to this other person that is going to complete you in a way that allows you to relate differently. And so getting to know what that is on your own, outside of them, is critical. Okay, number 5. That I am fundamentally bad or secretly worthless. I'm fundamentally bad or secretly worthless. This is also an idea that was probably put into you from society that was reflected in a lot of like really painful early experiences. But I think there's something that we go through in terms of like the grueling process of socialization, like the brutal early childhood conditioning that a lot of us have, even like, you know, the standardized school system of past lives, whatever the fuck you want to think it is. But I think we go through a process that makes a lot of people feel as though they deserve punishment and that they're bad. And maybe that was like an early dynamic that happened with a parent, or being born with a marginalized identity, or whatever it is. A lot of people are carrying that around subconsciously. Even people you might think are the most confident people around have this feeling that they're fundamentally bad or secretly worthless. And so a lot of the engaging in the relationship is an attempt to earn love, or to prove that they're worthy of love, or if they can get the other person to see them as good. You know, it's getting that external validation because it's lacking inside, and the person might not even be conscious of the fact that it's lacking inside. So, yeah, that one always breaks my heart a little bit. And because I think part of the honeymoon phase is like you get this taste of what it would feel like to feel like worthy and radiant and entirely loved, and then it's taken away or like changed somehow. And I think that's where the other thing comes in, like, oh, if I can just do it right, if I can be the good one. You know, I think that's the other thing. I used to say codependency was like a obsessive sickness about trying to be the good one, you know, because like you're being treated so poorly, and so you look good by comparison. And I think that's also feeding into this fundamental subconscious belief that you're bad. And so there's something really rewarding about feeling like you're the good one, the noble, suffering, martyr one, because those are the values that we uphold in our society. So, yeah. Oh, that breaks my heart. But I think it's true. It's true. So these are some of the things that we're going to address in the course. We're going to look at these belief systems. We're going to like do all this stuff just to get back in touch with yourself, with the magic of your love, with the unique power of your love. And I'm going to keep doing these videos about codependency leading up to it. And if you have any questions, put it in the comment section and I might address it in following videos. I'm going to try and do like a live Q&A. So awesome. So good to be with you. And I will see you next time.